radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Today's Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. Oh, I forgot to say, 78 days into the new year, only 288 days left. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, it's nuts out there. We'll get to all of that in just a minute. Tonight, very special guest. Been waiting for this show. Lori Spagna is here. We're going to be discussing your awakening and ascension processes and a whole lot more. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Laurie is finally here. She's really cool, too. And we're going to get some pet talk in tonight as well. And as most of you know, we have 3 dogs. Used to have 4. Portia left us last year after being with us for 15 years. But anyway, we have 3 dogs. And so we might do some pet talk tonight, too, as well. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. We had a great show last night, our Fader Not Coronavirus Town Hall. Phones were completely jammed, and it was great to hear from all of you all around the country to check in with us. And we'll continue all of those discussions tomorrow night on Fader Night. And then Friday, I'm over hosting Coast to Coast AM. And Saturday, I'm over hosting Coast to Coast AM. So I'll be working all week long. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, and that's the easy place to start. I'm a big social media guy. So you can hit me up right there at JChurchRadio. And our sandbox where we communicate in real time with one another is the sandbox, which is hashtag F2B on Twitter. We use TweetDeck, everybody. And for those of you that are tuning in live for the first time and you haven't heard me give my TweetDeck pitch, we use TweetDeck here. And TweetDeck is a Twitter product. But it's different, but it's still Twitter. The deal is you're never going to use Twitter again. You're just going to use TweetDeck from now on because it runs automatically. You don't have to click around and notifications and all of that stuff. It just runs like a slot machine. And I have 4 columns in front of me. I have myself. I have the sandbox, hashtag F2B. You can name your column. Hashtag F2BQ, Fade to Black questions, and then I have Rita down on the end. And as everybody posts something or replies or comments, it updates automatically. You don't have to click on anything. It's really, really cool. So if you don't have TweetDeck, get it. And once you do install TweetDeck, your first tweet is, hey, Fader Knots, I just got TweetDeck. What do I do now? And then use hashtag F2B. And then somebody will come running and get you all set up. All right, so get yourself TweetDeck. And there you go. Any questions or comments tonight, use hashtag F2BQ. You can also email throughout the show, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And I try to get to as much email as I can during the show. And most of it is questions for the guest. And I see them come in, boom. And then I steal the email, right? I won't say, we just got an email from Bob in Texas. I never do that. No. I read your question, and then I weave it into the conversation, and I just steal it. And you can do that at jimmychurchradio.com. I made this announcement last night. I want to thank everybody over at River Moon Coffee, Juanita and Jeff and the team. Because starting last night, it's going to go through tonight and tomorrow night, Fader night, River Moon Coffee is offering a very special stay-at-home, shelter-in-place, don't run out of coffee discount for all of you Fader Knots. I was watching the tweets today from everybody that ordered. Get it now, right now, 20% off of your coffee. So when you click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com, it'll take you over to River Moon Coffee. I think it takes you to our Fade to Black blend page over there. Get yourself some Fade to Black blend or anything, 20% off. And you get free shipping on all orders over $50. So get your coffee on. You don't want to run out of coffee. I'd rather run out of toilet paper, to be honest with you. I run out of coffee, life grinds to a halt. So thank you, River Moon Coffee, for looking out with all of us. Okay, rivermooncoffee.com. The promo code is Jimmy. That's it. Simple, right? You can't forget that. Jimmy, Jimmy. 20% off right now through tomorrow night. Let's get to all of the breaking news. The Dow closed today below 20,000. That's right, finishing at 19,898, down 6.3%, or 1,338 points. Yeah, never thought I'd see that number, 19,898. We'll see what tomorrow brings. And also, the latest updates here in the United States, and I need to stress this. I have everything broken down, good news and bad news, okay? But this is the breaking news, and it puts it all in perspective. The United States now has more than 9,360 coronavirus cases. This is updated as of 2 minutes before showtime tonight. Okay, so we've got 9,360 coronavirus cases here in the United States, with 2,949 new cases and 44 deaths in just the last 24 hours. It is worth noting that just 7 days ago, on March 11th, there were only 1,267 cases and 38 deaths total. That's right. We had more deaths in the last 24 hours than we had total for the country just 1 week ago. Okay? It's real. It's real. To make that kind of jump, to go from 1,267 to 9,360 in a week, that is a graph that you just don't want to imagine. Okay. Let's get to the good news, though. The U.S. Senate just passed the House coronavirus relief legislation that includes provisions for free testing for COVID-19 and paid emergency leave, and President Trump immediately signed it into law. U.S. airports say that financial assistance will help weather the immediate storm, and scientists at the University of Oxford say that they've developed a coronavirus test that can give results in just 30 minutes. Missouri Governor Mike Parsons expects health officials there will be able to process 7,000 to 10,000 tests a day starting in April. That is great news. U.S. Defense Secretary says the military will provide up to 5 million masks for healthcare services. More great news. The United States Department of Health and Human Services is issuing a regulation to permit doctors to practice across state lines. And man, do we need that. Very good news. China is shipping 1 million surgical masks and gloves to France as it struggles to contain the coronavirus. Thank you, China. The NFL and the NBA announced free access to streaming services for fans. More great news, especially those fans that are stuck at home. And the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has now authorized 9 coronavirus tests for emergency use. There you go. That's the good news. Now, the bad news. The U.S.-Canada border is temporarily closing to non-essential travel, and Air Canada announced today that it will gradually suspend the majority of its international and U.S. trans-border flights by March 31st. The World Health Organization, concerned at lack of information on coronavirus cases in Syria and Yemen, no reports coming out of those two countries. The New York Stock Exchange will close floor trading starting Monday and only using electronic trading after a floor trader member and employee tested positive for coronavirus. I want to stress with everybody, the stock market is opening. There's going to be no humans on the floor. Okay? Connecticut reports its first coronavirus death. Michigan announces its first coronavirus death. Portugal has declared a state of emergency, which will take effect at midnight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time today, and will last for 15 days. Over 50% of New Jersey coronavirus cases are hospitalized. More than 12,000 flights have been canceled today worldwide. On average, COVID-19 fatalities in Italy are happening 8 days after patients first show symptoms. Very interesting. Professional tennis is now suspended into June. Italy has announced the biggest single-day jump of coronavirus cases of 4,207 in 24 hours. A total number of cases now stands at 35,713 as of today, and the number of deaths increased by 475 in the last 24 hours. America's top automakers, including Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors, will temporarily close all of its U.S. plants due to the coronavirus outbreak. The United Kingdom will close all schools starting Friday until further notice. Israel bars all foreign nationals from entering the country. Nearly 1 in every 4 Californians has been ordered to stay at home to help curb the coronavirus spread. Napa County, Yolo County, and San Luis Obispo counties and the city of Fresno are the latest areas to issue shelter-in-place orders, joining 10 other Northern California counties. Now, Australia's Qantas and Jetstar, the airlines, will suspend international flights from late March. It's all of your latest headlines, and now let's get to the most accurate numbers that I can provide, that you will get anywhere. I reported yesterday, Tuesday, March 17th at 7 p.m. Pacific time, we had 198,241 coronavirus cases worldwide. The deaths were at 7,965, recovered 81,743. Those numbers increased dramatically in the last 24 hours. As of today, Wednesday, March 18th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 219,012, an increase of over 20,000 cases in 24 hours. Deaths rose. Deaths are at 8,953, an increase of 1,000 in 24 hours. Recovered, 84,795. That is exactly 3,000 more people have recovered from coronavirus. There are 125,264 active cases worldwide. 7,158, 6% are considered serious or critical. 118,106, 94% are considered mild conditions. There you go. There's the coronavirus headlines for March 18th, 2020. Now, the show must go on. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Brad Dourif is 70 years old. He played Billy Babbitt in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He played in Lord of the Rings. He played in Deadwood. And he also played Chucky in the Child's Play franchise. Alice in Chains singer and guitarist Jerry Cantrell, genius by the way, today is 54. Our dead guy's birthday today is Wilson Pickett, my man. 1941 to 2006, died at the age of 64. Pickett recorded over 50 songs which made the U.S. R&B charts, many of which crossed over to the Billboard Hot 100. His hits that included In the Midnight Hour, which he co-wrote, Land of a Thousand Dances, amazing song, Mustang Sally, and Funky Broadway. Pickett was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 1991, and he died of a heart attack in Reston, Virginia on January 19th, 2006. 58 days short of his 65th birthday, but we didn't forget today. Happy birthday, Wilson Pickett. On this day in history, 1925, the Tri-State Tornado, the worst tornado in U.S. history, passes through eastern Missouri, southern Illinois, and southern Indiana, killing 695 people and injuring 13,000. Incredible. 1925, the Tri-State Tornado. Fader fact. Okay, here you go. Here you go. This is a Fader fact. Bears are considered to be one of the most intelligent land animals. They possess the largest and most convoluted brains relative to their size of any land mammal. Their intelligence compares with that of higher primates. And that is your Fader fact. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Yeah, love me some bears. All right. Tonight, very special guest Lori Spagna is here. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, I'm going to hit this River Moon coffee. You can get 20% off of your order right now. Promo code Jimmy. Go to rivermooncoffee.com. Get yourself some Fade to Black blend. Promo code Jimmy. 20% off of your order. And then you can do this. Man, that's good coffee. Best coffee in the world. Promo code Jimmy, okay? All right. Well, can we talk? All right, I got to come clean. I'm coming clean. Today's show, I'm coming clean. We went to the pot store this morning. We did. We went to the pot store. And the good news, everything was in stock. It was a pretty happy place today, actually. It was cool. Everything was in stock. Seriously. And I asked our little helper, as I handed her my driver's license, I asked her, I said, hey, you got any eggs? Oh, man. Everybody laughed, and she replied no. And she also said they didn't have any toilet paper. Oh, man. So we Rita and I, we shopped, and we hoarded some of the best weed on the West Coast. So we got that going for us, right? Next stop, Doritos. But anyway, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, wait, what? Jimmy smokes weed? Well, I don't, actually. But members of my family do. And in times of crisis, you got to take care of the family unit. Right? I do my part. The names of this stuff today, man. I bought this stuff called, I didn't even smell it. It's in a box called Los Angeles Kush. It's in an orange box. It's taped shut with a seal and the whole thing. I just like to buy. I said, you know what? Somebody's going to like that. I just want a box of that too as well. Still haven't opened it, by the way. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, I do my part. Next stop was to continue our search for eggs. That's right. Eggs. So we hit the supermarket near our home, and there was parking. I couldn't believe it. Pulled into the supermarket. There's a couple of empty spots. I turned to Rita. I said, hey, this looks good. So we parked. That's a good sign. That's a good sign in these times. And Rita and I walked straight to the back of the store. And, well, you guessed it, right? No eggs. Okay. But they did have butter. And here's the deal. Rita can cook. And a great cook needs butter. Not any day. And Rita reminded me, because we were just going to walk out of the store, we didn't get the eggs, right? But she reminded me that we were running low and we should pick some up just in case. I was like, okay, all right, got plenty of butter. Okay. So I grabbed 4 packages of some great Irish sweet cream butter. Right, 2 packages in this hand, 2, packages of butter, right? So I have 4, 2 in each hand. And we headed for the checkout line. And as we check out, this is what goes down. As we check out, the cashier says, that'll be $9.98. And I'm like, wow, that's cheap. And she says, you are limited to only 2. And she took 2 and put them to the side. And I said, okay. Wow. And the man behind me in line just says out of the blue, he says, hey, man, I'll buy them for you. I'm not kidding. And I was like, dude, thank you. And I said, you can buy them, but I'm going to pay for your groceries. And he said no. And I said yes. And he said no again. And I said yes again. I was like, man, you're not, I am going to pay for your groceries. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So I paid for his groceries. And I get our 2 packages of Irish sweet cream butter. And then we elbow bumped, right? And we're laughing, me and the guy. And Rita and I turn and walk out. And the thing is this tiny moment, this tiny little moment of kindness between 2 strangers. Well, we almost went toe-to-toe over who was going to be nicer first. That was fun. But that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. When something presents itself like that, just do it. And it was just a wonderful feeling. And I can guarantee you, he lost the battle. I ended up buying his groceries, even though he insisted on buying our butter. But the next time he gets the chance to help someone, I guarantee it, he's going to win. He deserves to win, too. So Rita and I, we make it back to the car with our stash of Irish sweet cream butter. And while laughing in the car, I said something like this to Rita. I said, is this the world we are in, right? Where we venture out into no man's land to see what we can find. Wander through the deserted, empty stores and try to make it home alive with our secret bounty of butter. It's like this weirdness going on out there. And although the events of today, as I've just presented them to you, are both funny and true, here is the dilemma. I shouldn't have bought the 4 packages of butter. I should have bought 2. Normally, I would buy 4. Yes, that's what I do. And it's no big deal. It saves me from going to the store more often. That's all. It's 4 little packages of butter. It's no big deal. But this is normally that's what I would do. But these aren't normal times. Someone will show up at the store, later today to buy some butter, and it's going to be all gone. Maybe there would have been 2 packages there for someone who needs it if I didn't buy 2 extra that honestly we just didn't need. At least didn't need it today. It's just like trying to find those eggs, right? I've been trying to buy them for a week. Somebody's buying them in front of me. Maybe somebody's buying too much. I can't get a dozen eggs. And with that, leaving the parking lot and not having eggs, I've got eggs on the brain. So, to get my egg fix fixed, we drove to Jack in the Box, and I got a breakfast burrito at the drive-thru. Man, it was good, too. The egg hunt in the end-of-the-world valley in which we live is over for now, and will continue tomorrow at the crack of dawn. And I promise you that I'll only purchase the rationed limit. Life is good. Tonight, Lori Spagna is here. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. I am your host, Jimmy Church. It's going to be a great night tonight on the show. You just sit right there and get comfortable. Lori Spagna is here. You can email me at jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Use hashtag F2B for the sandbox. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. GetTheT.com, the tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Welcome to everybody over on YouTube, causing trouble in that chat room. Hello to everybody over on Facebook, causing trouble. Hello to everybody over in the Spreaker chat room, causing trouble. KGRA chat room, causing trouble. Twitter, causing trouble. Love it. Thank you to everybody all around the world. Periscope. Tonight, our guest is Lori Spagna, and we're going to be discussing your awakening and ascension processes during the evolutionary shift of consciousness, which is well underway right here on planet Earth. Lori is a best-selling author, speaker, ascension guide, multidimensional channel, intuitive, animal communicator, energy healer, visionary, lightworker, and starseed who has transformed the lives of thousands of humans and animals via her channeled ascension guidance, intuition, sacred energy, healing, and animal communication, and telepathy. Laurie provides ascension training and support, sacred energy healing, transmissions, dormant DNA activations, star code marking activations, and sacred key code activations for humans and animals. Her website is LoriSpagna.com. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Lori Spagna. Lori, good evening. How are you?
Well, hi, Jimmy. I'm fabulous. How are you?
Well, you're uppity.
Yeah, I am. I'm uppity. I'm in my frequency zone. Thank you for having me. Yeah. I'm really excited to be here.
And welcome. And before we get started, you get the first time guest disclaimer. And I know you've been waiting for this, but here it comes. Lori, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. Where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go.
That sounds awesome. I love that.
Now, before we actually get started, I want to go back to the Conscious Life Expo where you and I had a chance to talk at length. And your how do I say this? Your talent, your gift. One of the things that you and I laughed about for probably about an hour was you were answering my questions before I got the question asked. And it was a really fun thing for me to go through to see this talent that you possess.
That's awesome that you remember that. I just remember us chatting for a real long time about animals. And yeah, there was a lot of flow there.
There was a lot of vibing going on. But this is something that is truly a gift. And
I think so.
Yeah, when did this start for you?
Well, here's my short story. Was basically out of college. I was working in corporate America for 20 years as what I call a good slave, and I developed all kinds of really horrible habits to adjust and accommodate to my misery, like excessive smoking, excessive drinking, excessive pharmaceutical drugs to try to heal everything, excessive spending and shopping. I was 6 figures in debt. I was just miserable. I was drinking excessive amounts of coffee. I couldn't sleep. My body was out of whack. I was way overweight, like 65 pounds overweight. My thyroid was off. Hair was falling out. I was just miserable. And my wake-up call was that my brother died of an unexpected drug overdose. And after he crossed over, I started getting messages from him. It was very clear. And I worked with that for about almost a year before I really started to take it seriously. So I quit my 6-figure job because his message to me was like, hey, you're next. You're on a trajectory that is going to end you up in the same place as me. So I took the guidance, and I quit my 6-figure job, and I became a dog trainer. And right away, I started getting messages from the dogs. So something started to activate. That I really can't say. All I can say, it was linked to my brother. But within 2 years of quitting my job, I ended up moving to Maui, and that's where all the transformation happened. The 6-figure credit card debt was gone. 65 pounds of body weight went. I stopped drinking alcohol forever. I stopped smoking forever. It's been over 20 years now without a single pharmaceutical drug or over-the-counter drug for me or for my animals. The thyroid was healed naturally. I mean, just everything came into balance because I got aligned with my right course, what I'm doing now. So that's where it all started.
Sure. And when you go through those kinds of traditions, because that lifestyle that you just mentioned, there are many out there that would go, hey, well, that doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah.
And when you're living the lifestyle, it seems okay. Now that you're 20 years removed, giving up all the things that you thought were fun and necessary, they're not as important to you now. And you can't probably believe that you actually live that way. That's usually what happens, right?
Yeah, well, I will say, it might seem fun to people if they're doing it in some form of moderation or in a way that works for them, but for me, it wasn't fun. I was basically in denial. I was repressing and suppressing my pain. I was trying to use alcohol and smoking and pharmaceutical drugs to placate my misery in that lifestyle. And I think that is the condition on earth, where you're working for money as a slave. Like humanity is in a slave program right now. And so for me, it was not hard to give any of that up, because as soon as I started to get happy, as soon as I started to fall in love with my life, as soon as I started to love and feel the love from the animals and be more aligned with my true mission and my true service, as soon as I started getting into more of these esoteric practices that I'm now are just part of my everyday life.
Right.
All of that stuff was just not even interesting or fun anymore at all. And now I couldn't even imagine that's just not who I am anymore, because it was such a radical change in such a short amount of time. And so what I would love for people to hear is that if they're in a situation where they're working a job that they don't like, or they're working for money and they feel like a slave, or they're involved in some form of behavior habit or pattern or addiction, like alcohol or drugs or spending or pharmaceutical drugs or caffeine or shopping, that there's a way out, that they don't have to have their life be in that pattern. Because those patterns are actually quite easy to break once we get aligned with our own inner self-love.
And going through this transition, especially going from that corporate treadmill to communicating with pets, did you think that maybe you were losing it a little bit? Was there
I did. I thought I was losing it with my brother.
Right.
I mean, this is how the voice came in. I'm not kidding, Jimmy. The voice was, "Hey, Law, it's your dead brother, Jeff."
Wow.
We're New Yorkers.
Right.
And he was a comedian, and not a professional comedian, but he was just so funny and full of charisma. And that's the way he talked. And when I would hear it, I just thought it was my own voice. I thought I was crazy, and I kept testing it and validating it. And I mean, psychics know, we understand how to validate, but nobody was teaching me this. I was doing it all on my own. So all the validations, they just kept coming up, thing after thing after thing that I would ask, show me this, tell me this, prove this, and not in an arrogant way, but just in an inquiry, from innocent inquiry. Please help me know what is going on here. And then what was the animals? This was one of my most favorite stories. I'm gonna have tons of great animal communication stories, but one of the things that really, really shifted things for me in terms of the animal communication and the telepathy was that I was living in Maui. This was already like a year into me working as a dog trainer and communicating with animals. And I was on Craigslist, and someone from one of the neighboring islands, Oahu, put a post on Craigslist that she was looking for an animal communicator. And I wrote to her and said, look, I can't guarantee anything because I'm not doing it professionally, but I'm willing to try and do it as a service and, take it or leave it. So I said, don't tell me anything. Just send me a picture. And that's what she did. I knew nothing. I was just connecting with this horse. It was a foal, and all I could see was the eyes. The mother's head was in the picture with the foal. And I just kept hearing the words, I'm stumped. I'm stumped. And I heard the words go below the knee, but I didn't understand that because all I could see was the eyes. So I wrote back to the woman and I told her that. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I guess I'm just stumped. I'm not getting anything other than that. And she wrote me back and she said, Laurie, you're getting something. We had to amputate below the knee. Please go back and ask again. Find out what else you can get.
Whoa.
Right. So I go back to the foal, and now I'm armed with a little bit of confidence, more confidence. And so I ask, tell me what else there is. And I start just communicating with this foal. And basically what I get is there's bad people around me. They want to kill me. I want to live. Tell them to go away. I want to live. And oh, by the way, could you tell the nice ones to give me some more carrots? So I go back and tell her that, this is all through Craigslist. And she's like, that's exactly right. We didn't know what to do. We had vets saying to euthanize. And now that we know, we're going to get a prosthetic and keep the horse alive. That was like a game changer for me because that's when I realized I could save lives. So that turned everything around. At that point, there was no more I'm crazy. There was okay, I'm going to dive into this. And what can I do? So there's actually some other really cool pieces to this story, if I could add to it. Is that all right?
Absolutely. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm living in Maui, and I get my Reiki master. That's where my healing sort of started.
Right.
And I start doing healing on animals everywhere, all over the island. Wild animals, orphan animals, the whole thing. And it's really amazing how it's starting to work. And plus, I was working with this incredible teacher who himself lived in the Kunlun Mountains, the Himalayan mountains. And he was a true master who knew how to literally take energy and let the physical world collapse. And so under his tutelage, he knew how to basically create what he called a little death. He took the essence of my consciousness and basically knew how to take me out of the physical world. So that the whole physical world basically collapsed in a sense, or disappeared, or deconstructed, and that my essence of my consciousness merged with everything, all that was. And I went into the void of all that is. I became at one with all that is, while he basically contained, in a sense, energetically, my individual consciousness. This is what he referred to as a little death, right? So in my language, I would call that a near-death experience, even though that wasn't near-death in the sense of in a hospital. So he was teaching me how to meditate every night to still the body, still the mind, and remain completely conscious. I would do this every night while living in Maui, and oftentimes I would do it out in the backyard on the golf course where I lived. And one particular night, and this was the big transformation too, that added to it, was I was looking in the sky. It was 2:00 in the morning. At that time in Maui, there were no planes at 2:00 in the morning. I had worked in the cable industry. I knew what satellites looked like. And there was this moving light in the sky, bouncing all around, up and down. And it started to respond to my thoughts. I telepathically connected with this starship. It was a starship. And I was so naive back then. I had no idea what was going on planet Earth. I knew nothing about extraterrestrials or star families or intergalactics. But I just so innocently and naively, telepathically said, well, if you're here to help us, if there's anything I could do, let me know. I'd love to know. I'd love to help. This is me. I was just service oriented. That was always who I was. So I was telepathically transported on ships. Sounds crazy. Sounds crazy, I know, but not for your community, not for this community. And so in what I would call a plasma-like state, I had what I would call a first contact experience. And in that experience, that's where I really think I claimed all of the gifts. That's where those gifts were awakened in me. All these gifts that I have were activated within my own dormant DNA, within my consciousness. after that induction experience, I really had to unpack it,
right?
Work with it. It took a long time.
How
that's where it originates.
You just read my mind. That was my next question. How long was this transition? Was it 6 months, a year? How long of a period are we talking about?
Yeah, the time in Maui where I was doing all of that, working with the energy, developing my gifts, that was 2 years.
2 years.
But I had already lived, as a dog trainer for a year prior to that. So it was like a 3-year transformation, the most radical part of it.
It sounds, even though 3 years kind of sounds like a long time, but that must have been overwhelming because that's a lot of information, and physical and emotional transitions are happening all at the same time and coming down on you. How did you handle it?
I mean, it was crazy. I understand now that was a divine appointment for me. That was like a pre-agreed appointment in time and space, because the way I see it is I made a sacred contract to visit that point, to meet up with my star family. And I call myself a braided starseed, which effectively means I have all full and complete knowledge and experience of my human life prior to that point in linear time. And I have knowledge of myself as a star being, which is from my future self, who traversed time and space to meet up with myself at that moment in time. So those versions of me braided together to unify so that I could do this work. It was completely overwhelming, Jimmy. That's why I was in such an isolated place for 2 straight years, because everyone in my old reality dropped out of my life. Everyone thought I was crazy. And so nobody from my present life really knew me before then.
Did you have to, I'm going to give you a little broadcasting tip. Your microphone that is in front of you.
Too close?
Speak over the top of it and not into it. That's all I'm going to say, and you'll thank me for the rest of your life. That's our trade-off.
Awesome.
Is that next there now you've got steps to start going through. Did you turn to books? Did you have somebody around you to help guide you? But now you've got to go and get information. What did you do next?
No, I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like I had nobody to talk to. I felt like I was going crazy. It was really challenging. So what would happen though, I just kept asking, like, what is all of this? I was getting these what I call downloads and like codes coming into my consciousness every night, and all this weird kinds of energy and astral travel every night and dream space information. And most of the time I just kept saying, what is going on here? What is this all about? What do I do with all of this? And I kept hearing and being told, you will know when the time comes. So at the same time, like during that period of time, I was also playing with it. I was just playing with it. I don't know how else to say that. I was like writing, journaling. What is this? I was inquiring. I was doing a lot of what we call like psychic stuff. I was accessing information from the non-physical, the unknown, and I was translating it in a sense. Like, what does this mean? What is this? How does this work? And I was awakening these kinds of codes within me. And what was happening was I was seeing the change. I was experiencing the change. I was recognizing, like, wow, I have no desire for cigarettes anymore. Wow, I have no desire for alcohol. Wow, my hair is not falling out. Wow, I'm only interested in healthy food now. Wow, this light is so good. Like, just things were changing.
Right.
I had more energy, more strength, more vibrancy, more excitement, more optimism. Like, everything was shifting. And then I would start doing it with my animals, and I would notice how they were changing and that they were stronger. And like, how is this dog jumping like this 6-foot wall? Like, how is this possible? And so I just kept playing with it. And then after that, I started doing it with friends. And I was like doing these like mastermind groups. And friends were like, you have to do more of this. So I started opening it up to like circles and inviting people on donation basis, just like, come try it. I can't promise anything. But I was getting all this incredible feedback about how people's lives were changing and their bodies were changing and they were getting healthier. And it just expanded from there. It was more and more.
Now, I've got to, I don't want this to get past us. I want to go back to the UFO aspect of this, because when that kind of stuff happens, and especially if you're not part of the UFO community or have checked it out before, this is brave new territory.
Yes.
What did you have to do? I don't want to sound like the crazy UFO guy, but what did you go and start asking questions and maybe jump on the net to see what this UFO aspect was about?
The internet wasn't even really out. People didn't have PCs yet. I didn't have a PC. So, well, I mean, people did, but I didn't. I was broke in Maui. I lost everything. You understand, those 2 years were not easy. I lost everything. I went through a 2-year dark night of the soul. I didn't know what to do. I was very freaked out. I didn't understand it, but I was working with my higher guidance from a place of just not knowing. I didn't know anything. So it was all really self-taught, self-awakened from within me. And I mean, I think this is a kind of a common story with starseeds, what I call first wavers, early awakeners, early embodiers. But the whole UFO thing, I didn't even really, all I knew was that it was benevolent and it was awakening slowly within me. So I just kept inquiring. What I understand now is that there's a big difference, a huge difference between what you call an abduction or abduction experience, which typically is with more what I would call 3D, like physical abductions that you've heard about. You know those stories, and those are traumatic. Those are typically where an extraterrestrial race is benefiting to the harm or detriment of the abductee. That's not what my experience was at all. Mine was what I would call with the benevolent star family races, who are really benevolent, and generally overall their mission is in service to and contribution to the greater good of all, ideally with harm to none, and with zero debt incurred, which basically means zero karmic debt, zero all benefit with harm to none. So that's to me a first contact, and that typically happens in what we would call higher dimensional frequencies. So my first contact experience was not a physical experience, but it was not astral travel. It was not dream state. It was plasma-like, which corresponds to 7th and 8th dimensional frequencies. That's non-physical. It's etheric, but it's not a dream and it's not an astral travel. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I'm sure you found out about how much of this actually happens out in Hawaii. Did you continue to have visits, up in the sky?
No, I didn't have any more after that. And the reason I didn't was because I was so angry afterwards. I was like, what the heck? I mean, I said, I turned it off. I was like, do not. That is against my free will. I knew enough at that point to understand free will. I understood that if I said, that is not okay with me, I do not permit that, I'm not willing for that again, that was a kind of like a safety for me, an inborn, somehow I knew that. So I was just kind of pissed about it at first. I had to really unpack it. It took me years to unpack it.
Let's stay right there with free will for a second. I want to know your definition of free will. And as you're thinking about that answer, I study physics and science and the quantum side of it, and free will from the scientific side of it, from academia, they're pretty much free will doesn't exist, right? And you get around these physicists that don't believe in near-death experiences or ghosts or the paranormal or any type of religion, any spirituality. That is not in their wheelhouse. Okay, I can dig that if that's what they choose. The numbers and the math guides them in that direction. That's fine. But the other part of it is they also believe that everything that they do, say, or speak is predetermined by math, right? That there is no free will. And it's a bizarre thing to hear them speak, that they honestly believe that they're not making decisions, that everything is predetermined. And so for you, what is the definition of free will?
Well, let me just say, everything I receive is based on dimensional frequencies of consciousness. So on the lower dimensions of reality, in other words, the first through third, which is the physical reality that most scientists live in, I agree there really is no free will. To the extent that if you think of those lower dimensions, the physical world, it's kind of like the pinky on the hand. Who's controlling the pinky?
Right.
You are, the mind of God. And so in the third dimensional reality where people are entirely physical and they don't acknowledge the non-physical or the higher dimensional realms of consciousness, I would agree. And because also from even fourth, fifth dimensional states of consciousness, which are where we get into higher realms of awareness, we recognize that everything's sacred contracts and agreements, pre-agreements that we agree to before we incarnate.
That's right.
However,
so does that, okay, let's stop right there for a second. Doesn't that remove free will from the table?
No, because you're much greater than a fourth or fifth dimensional conscious being.
Ah, gotcha.
So on the sixth dimensional plane of existence, what we have are laws of the universe. Laws of the universe uphold everything in our reality up until sixth dimensional frequency. So they exist on a sixth dimensional plane, and there is a law of intent, consent, and authority, which is also known as the law of free will. So it upholds our sovereignty, our choice, and it recognizes us as divine creators. And once we start accessing fifth and sixth dimensional states of consciousness, we are able to use our free will. We go beyond our sacred contracts and agreements, and we elevate to higher frequencies of consciousness where we actually can use conscious consent and intent and authority. Now, once humanity wakes up to this, oh my God, we are going to completely transform our experience, because this is where we start claiming sovereignty, liberation, true freedom. We start realizing that we can respectfully command the field of all that is. We can command for things that are aligned with these laws. For example, the moment you start saying, with my intent, consent, and authority, I command now for the greater good of all with harm to none to be fully executed. It's always happening anyway, actually, but you can start commanding free liberation from genetically modified foods. You can start commanding organics. You can start commanding freedom and sovereignty for humanity. All kinds of things, as long as there's other laws in place, but there is sixth dimensional other laws operating, but one of them, primary missions, one of those primaries is to uphold for the greater good of all with harm to none.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Lori Spagna. We're going to continue this conversation when we come back after this short break. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Great conversation, great start. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Big shout out to everybody tonight. Everybody over on YouTube, Periscope, KGRA, TalkStream Live, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, all of you. Facebook. Yeah, we're now broadcasting on our Facebook radio page. And what is really great about that, including YouTube, you know, we've got 100,000 people over on YouTube, and we've got another 20,000 or so on our radio page. And we just never accessed that. And now reaching out to everybody where it just makes it easy is a really cool thing. So a big shout out to everybody that's out there. Our guest tonight is Lori Spagna. And before we get back to Lori, I do want to remind everybody, it's going to end tomorrow night, that River Moon Coffee
for all of you shelter in place, staying at home, work from home people right now, get yourself some coffee. Get the Fade to Black blend. My picture is on it. You've got to get it. And the promo code is Jimmy, Jimmy. Just go over to the River Moon Coffee banners. Go to rivermooncoffee.com. 20% off of your order today with the promo code Jimmy through tomorrow night. Now, I do want to thank River Moon Coffee for doing that for us. And with that, let's get back to our conversation. And Laurie, when we're talking about 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, that always, for most, they hear different, I'm going to use the word interpretation here, different definitions of what that is. So we'll get to that in a second. I'm hearing an echo. Maybe it's me coming through.
Is this better?
Yeah, computer speakers or something. But anyway, before we get to that, right now we all know what's going on with the media and this planet right now. And there's a lot of pressure, a lot of dark out there. And for this audience that is constantly looking for ways to help their ascension and their awakening, right now they've got the added emotional pressure of what the media and coronavirus, quite frankly, is causing. Employment, economy, the stock market, airplanes, sport, concert, restaurants closed. It's just like craziness. How can we start to help them work through this over the next couple of months?
Yeah, well, this is a huge thing. So obviously, and I mean, I want to say whatever I say here, it's coming from a place of compassion and love. It's most important for us to understand the shift of consciousness is on. And everything we've ever known and experienced that is not beneficial to us is coming to the surface. So what we're looking at, and that's nothing new for this community, but what we're looking at is a massive clearing of root chakra, core fear issues that have come to the surface because we, Lightworkers, have been clearing this stuff out for so long, and now it's just at the surface to be resolved. So let's just look at just from a healer metaphysical point of view, because we could spend hours just talking about this. Let's just understand that when we're talking about virus and viral infections from a metaphysical, mystical point of view, energetically, we're talking about a lack of joy flowing through life. And that humanity, in a sense, has become the virus on Earth. And in a sense, what we're asked to do is to be prepared to completely stop all of our ways of being and make a huge temporary sacrifice to allow Earth to restabilize, to go within ourselves, to transform our fear and our lack of joy into deep love and compassion. Now, that's very easy to say, but it's really what we're being given, a huge pause. Stop everything and shift over from an old way of being. We're literally being asked to stop investing all of our life into an old paradigm and to trust that the old paradigm and have faith that the new paradigm will support us in a whole new and better way. And if we just look a little bit further, the idea about immunity is our inner perception or our perspective of our vulnerability and our inability to defend ourselves or to feel strength in our reality. So it's asking us to build up our internal immunity, our internal strength by going within and transforming the experience of the external reality by going within, changing our experience from within. So it is a massive amount of time of faith and trust, but it's like, if you look even just a couple things astrologically, which we could spend so much time on that, but let's just go to some real simple basics that very few people realize. We have some major planetary shifts in terms of new planets, or we could call them planets, but they're really asteroids. For example, there's Sedna. Sedna is all about letting go of the old and trusting the new, and daring us to be different, and transforming our survival fear mode into faith and trust. And I mean, this is like, we could go so deep into this, but the whole thing is, if we're being asked, we're literally saying we want change. We asked for that, and we're inviting it in. And now that it's here, we're going to go into a state of panic. Our job is to recognize that the change that we've been inviting is here. And the old systems that we relied on are collapsing. They are no longer relevant. And the new systems, while we may not be able to see them clearly in this moment, they are already here. And they will be revealing themselves more and more as we come through this cycle that we're in. There's another thing I just want to mention quickly, and that's an asteroid about health and healing, which is it's called Hyeja. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's all about really transformation of our health and our healing. We are learning to heal ourselves, to transform our inner experience so that the outer experience is more pleasant and enjoyable. That's what's happening here.
You know what I find really funny is that so many out there for so long have made fun of our community, and it's like the meek shall inherit the earth, right? Because as it turns out, we were right on so many different levels, on eating right and keeping your immune system in check, making sure your vibrations are right, living the correct lifestyle, and searching for truth. When everything came crashing down, it was all of those things that everybody else is lacking that we already had in play, right? The compassion, the spirituality side, the health side, and although I'm not perfect, I'm far from perfect. There are things that I try to do for myself and my family to make sure that we are at least trying to make the right decisions. We're trying to do the right thing. And here we are today with all of this craziness in the world, and I just have to kick back and go, well, see who's laughing now, right? Yes. And I
mean, well, here's the whole thing, Jimmy. It's like, we don't have to be perfect. What we do have to transform is, this is also, as a healer, I know viral infections are a sign of a sense of inner unworthiness and a lack of self-love and self-care. And that's what we're all meant as a human species to change. Self-love, self-care, self-worthiness, self-nurturing. By the way, the cows are really, the animals, this is a huge part of what the animals teach us and are here to help us with. But that's what we're changing. And the thing is, it is scary. It is very scary. It's incredibly upsetting. There's a lot of misinformation. There are levels of conspiratory to it, which are relevant, but our job is to rise even above that. We Lightworkers, and that is who this community is, we empaths, we sensitives, those of us who truly do care and already are heart-centered, our job is, we've been waiting for this. We've been asking for it, and now is the time for us to really kind of go within, but also connect in a new way, just like we are here now, and to transform the experience, to rise above it. Because what we do have going on here is two kind of timelines. I mean, we're not really talking about timelines yet, but the idea of a timeline is that there's an experience that we could choose, a collective experience or a new reality experience. The collective lower timeline is fear-based. The new paradigm reality is faith, love, joy, peace, harmony-based, compassion-based. So, and that's frequency. So the question is now, the rubber hits the road. Mm-hmm. Which timeline do you want to be on?
You get to choose. It is vibrational. That's what we mean when we say raise your vibration. Do you want to sort of choose the frequency bandwidth that is fear-based, panic, hoarder, chaos? Or do you want to choose the vibration and the bandwidth that is heart-based, peace, joy, faith, love? The experience that you have will be resonant with the frequency that you carry within you, that is within your heart center. That is up to every individual to choose. And the timeline that you ultimately align with will be based on your frequency of choice, the vibrational state that you hold and embody.
Is it too much too fast? Right now, I mean, with what is happening worldwide, it's not a local situation. It's every country, it's every person on this planet is facing some very, very tough situations and waking up to really bad news. Is it too much too fast?
Well, it doesn't matter if it's too much too fast. It is.
That's right. That's right.
It is. It is here. We can argue with reality,
right,
or we can make a choice internally of who we choose to be and how we choose to embody. And that's why meditation, activations, my community of lightworkers, we are ready for this. We have been working on this for 10 to 12 years.
Right.
We have been doing activations, clearings, meditations. We knew this time would come. I have recordings of me from 10 years ago talking about this time. Maybe not predicting it exactly like this, but we knew.
Right.
This is what we call the third wave is waking up, and they're getting a chance to choose fear or love. That's it. It doesn't matter if it's too much too fast. This is what the universe is presenting. This is what reality is presenting, and we get to respond accordingly.
I had said, this is about 3 years ago, I had said then, maybe even 4, Lori, I had said this fear-based media population control is, and the fake news and how we were just bombed and pummeled into submission, right? And I had said that. I said, look, this planet may be ignoring this right now, but at some point, everybody's going to have enough. And they're going to tap out. They're going to, this is it. Oh, this is over with. And here we went through a month and a half, 2 months of the craziest fear-based media that has taken us to this point that we are. All media, too, by the way. It doesn't matter what segment of society or what country they're from. They all participated in it. And I think the planet right now, looking at what they are facing, they just may have reached that point that they're not going to deal with this anymore. The changes are starting. And I really feel I am not in any way ignoring this. I believe that this is what is going down right now.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said, sugar is poison for the body and the mass media is poison for the brain. And the fact is that what's being reported through the mass media is fear-mongering. And I'll say another thing in terms of a virus. The virus is the dis-ease that attempts to control and ultimately kill the host.
Mm-hmm.
And so the virus, the only fake news is on mainstream media. And I've always found that to be a joke when people be like, fake news. Yeah, fake news is on mainstream news. And I'm not sticking my head in the ground. I'm not in a state of denial. I recognize this is going on. It's a bad dream, unfortunately. And at the same time, I refuse to give my consent and authority or my power to a false authority external to me that seeks to cause harm through domination, manipulation, control, coercion, lies. And that is what the mass media and the fake news on mainstream media is doing. It is, we don't know what's true. We don't know. It's strange to me and so bizarre when people accept it is a form of brainwashing that this mass media, what they're being told in the news is true. unless you're there firsthand, you don't know. We just don't know what they're telling us.
Yeah, I totally agree. What was that? Did a jet just fly overhead? Do you live near LAX?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Florida. The air conditioning just came on.
Man. You should have seen Twitter. Twitter's going, she's near the ocean. It sounds so nice.
The next break, I will go turn it off. I'm sorry.
That's too funny. Yes. And this is what I think is most important, that I can tell that I want to go back for a second. I've been referencing this all week. In 1987, Ronald Reagan did his famous speech at the United Nations when he said, what's it going to take for us to end all of our differences? Will it be an alien? Will we face aliens, from another world, and some kind of alien invasion to bring us all together? And I think that even though this isn't an alien invasion, it's an invasion of another kind. But suddenly these differences on this planet are being forgotten right now. And
yes.
Isn't that interesting? It was pretty easy to do, right? To forget about all of this angst and worry about each other instead of being angry. It's I'm really enjoying that part of it. As harsh as some people are facing these personal situations that they find themselves in, ultimately we're going to win this, and I also feel that part of it, don't you?
Yeah, I myself don't feel any fear on a internally. I don't feel any sense of fear. What I do know is that because my consciousness and my awareness is so connected to the collective, I pick up on it, and then I'll notice it, and I immediately transmute it. I resolve it. I'm a healer, so I know how to do that. And I think the real issue here is, again, it's a matter of how we will transform the experience, not if we will. We certainly will. And humanity will certainly, even in the astrology, you can see by the time the North Node, which right now is in the house of Cancer, it's literally asking us to become more loving and more compassionate and more caring. And that is what Cancer, the house of Cancer is. It's about love. It's about emotion. It's asking us to get into our hearts, to become more caring and compassionate towards one another. And Cancer is the family, and the Mother Earth. It's self-mothering, self-love, self-caring. So the North Node, the asteroid of the North Node, is pointing at that. Now, once come mid-May, it moves into Gemini, which is all about air and relationships and expansion of partnerships, in sense that there's two. Gemini, who are you in relationship to everyone else and everything else? Mm-hmm. That experience is going to become much more spacious, much more breadth, much more open. So from what I can see, and my perspective and translation of that is, we got about a month of this, or 5 weeks, to transmute the experience. And I think that's going to really make a big shift for us.
Before we get to the break, because we're going to continue this after the break, the definitions of what, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, this terminology, and I think that sometimes it's used a little bit too loosely by members of our community, and most don't actually understand. So let's start right there with those definitions, and let's start at 3D.
3D is the physical reality. Everything physical. Height, width, depth is space, sound, and light. Got
it.
4D is non-physical. People often think it's time. That's ridiculous. There's no such thing as time. Time is a construct of the mind. And so it exists in 4D, but it is not the only thing 4D is. 4D is consciousness. 4D is thoughts, emotions, entities, everything non-physical. All wide ranges of that which is non-physical. When you start incorporating 4D into your experience, you start elevating into 5D in terms of consciousness. 5D is the incorporation of the physical and the non-physical. Your gifts, your talents, your abilities, your psychic awareness, your empathic nature, all that stuff starts to awaken. You start clearing out the density of your consciousness and elevating into higher frequencies of consciousness. That is 5D. 6D is typically what we know as the records, the realms of the Akash, including universal laws. 7D, we start moving into higher frequencies, purer frequencies that are entirely love, peace, joy-based. In 5D, we're activating, we're anchoring into love, peace, joy, compassion, kindness, those frequencies. But once we move beyond 60, we've gained all those virtues. In order to interact with the Akashic realm, in order to interact directly with universal laws on the 6-dimensional frequency, we have to really fully embody these upper realm frequencies that are entirely joy, peace, love, kindness, compassion based. And then from there we can go on. We can
right.
Go on. But those are more of the mental, right? The levels of awareness and your own consciousness. And the consciousness of connectedness to all that is oneness, the divine source, the original source of creation, and your own self as aspect of that source.
So,
make sense?
Yeah, it does. And from the way that you've just laid it out, it seems that 4D may be the most important D of the Ds, right? In that, is it a staging area? Is it a doorway?
Well, I like to think of it like Grand Central Station in a way, because you don't live there. You just traverse that area.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, what track are you going on? Do you want to play with entities? Do you want to play with ghosts?
Right.
You want to be in lower frequencies of it? Anger, resentment, that's in there. Judgment, that's in there. Or do you want to keep moving on? Some people call 4D like it's like in religion they would call it purgatory. In Western Roman Catholic Church, in Tibetan Buddhist monks they call it the bardos. So whatever you call it, it's not the point. It's a non-physical realm that you basically traverse to elevate into higher, pure frequencies of consciousness.
Yeah,
you cannot leave your body. By the way, it's all vibrational.
Sure, I called it a staging area.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
It's like a subway platform.
Yes, exactly.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Lori Spagna. What a great conversation. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. More with Lori after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Lori Spagna. If you ever miss a live broadcast, it's very simple. You can go to jimmychurchradio.com, get our podcast. It is updated every single night. We have over 1,200 shows there in the archives. All the apps that you need, everything is there and ready for just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast banner. Our guest tonight, Lori Spagna. And Laurie, continuing where we just left off, and I want to dig a little bit deeper now because we have to start looking at not only the shift of consciousness that is going on, but these sacred energies and how we start to make this transition. How do you approach it with somebody that contacts you for the first time?
Well, usually, I think one of the key things that we haven't really mentioned that's so significant and related to this is the DNA.
Right.
So let's understand that the first two strands of DNA, that's what everyone's operating on in third dimensional reality. And they believe overall that they're victims of the DNA, right? I call those first two strands basically corrupted. The reason they're corrupted is because they include all kinds of they're basically the wounds of our ancestors. So it's your lineage of what they did not heal or resolve or address appropriately. And typically the reason it's corrupted is it's full of disease, decay, death, dying, misery, suffering, lack, limitation. And all that stuff is just blueprints in the first two strands of DNA. All of it can be cleared and resolved. All of it, because everything ultimately is etheric. Ultimately, even though we experience things as physical, it's read as blueprints in the DNA, but you can change the DNA. And we know this now from, Dr. Bruce Lipton and epigenetics. We're learning that, right? But now, when you get beyond the first 2 strands, we also know scientifically that we have 10 more strands of dormant and what we could call uncoded DNA, or blueprints that are not yet read. Now, in order to get to those other 10 strands, and there's strands beyond that, but those are etheric. The reason they're etheric, non-physical, is because not enough humans have activated enough of that DNA, so it hasn't showed up in the physical reality yet. So we're just still working with the next 10 strands. Well, what's in those is, first of all, when you get into 3 and 4, we're talking about 4th dimension. We're talking about accessing those realms of the non-physical. You start becoming more intuitive. You start becoming more psychic. You start becoming more empathic. It's normal to talk to angels. You interact with people who have crossed over. You can connect with your loved ones, your animal companions. Everyone's telepathic. That all starts to get activated once we start getting into those 3rd and 4th strands, because those are our divine gifts. Then when you start getting into the strands, they all correspond to dimensions. So when you start getting into the 5th strand, for example, you're starting to anchor into the 5th dimensional paradigm. You start living your life differently. Your reality starts being all about what's possible, what greatness is possible, what goodness is possible, what wonderful things await me. You start looking at the possibilities and the opportunities. You start living with a kind of glad expectation and optimism and excitement, and everything's working for you. And your whole reality, your whole paradigm starts to shift to this new way of existing, right? That's 5th dimensional. That's what we're all shifting to if we make the choice to do so. And then once you start anchoring to that, you start activating your 6th strand. You start interacting with the Akashic realm, with the higher dimensional laws of the universe. You start recognizing them as real and valid, as guidelines for us to navigate this reality. And then beyond that, and by the way, none of this is linear, because it can all happen in a non-linear way. You're clearing some, you're activating some, you're awakening, you're changing things, you're shifting things. It's all coded into the DNA. And when you get into the 7th, 8th, 9th, and beyond, you start interacting with other realms, galaxies, star family races. You can overlap with other realms of existence. For example, magical, mystical realms. That's when people are into dragons and they're into unicorns and fairies. Those are magical, mystical realms that coincide with our reality. So all of that stuff is available to us, but we have to activate this in the DNA. And we have to simultaneously be clearing out the corrupted stuff from our first 2 strands that predicates us for disease, divorce, misery, suffering, illness, war, fighting, greed, those kinds of things. That's all corrupted. Make sense?
Yes, it does. And when we go beyond the 2 strands, the 2 physical strands that are there, and for those that start to get into strands 3 and 4, do we find that we are all psychic? Or am I even asking that the wrong way?
Yeah, no, we all are. We all have these gifts because we're all aspect of this divine source, right? This original source of creation. And the gifts that are within us are for us to reveal to ourselves. The thing to understand about the DNA is there's one portal or code that you have to have activated in order to get beyond the first 2 strands. That essentially is compassion. It's a gene, really. And you have to be activated in your heart center enough to be really, truly compassionate. Now, Lightworkers, people in this community, we're already there. But you look at people in the 3D reality who are going through so much fear right now. An example of what's going on planet Earth, like what's happening right now, is a great example of how that will further activate compassion in their heart centers. This will ignite compassion in the larger, greater collective, where they really do start caring and making changes to care more. And this will allow them to access higher strands, DNA codes. Because think about this, like some of those corrupted strands, for example, that most people don't know what's in there, is like you have programs like what we call divide and conquer. This is like argument and debate. It's so wired into people that they just go to argument and debate. Another one, for example, sexual misery programs, shame, guilt, regret, remorse, victimhood, There's other programs like crucifixion implants that are basically have to do with any lifetime that you ever lived or your ancestors lived, where they had religious indoctrination, or if anyone ever in your lineage ever experienced cult life or anything with dark, stuff, you would have this implanted into your DNA, not even know. It's like crucifixion implants are basically binding you from connecting to Mother Earth and recognizing her as an ultimate healer, binding you from your hands of creation, your ability to consciously create, and binding you at the crown from connecting with your the divine source. These are unconscious to us. We don't know that they're in there. And we reveal them to ourselves when we're ready to acknowledge that we want to clear that stuff out and we want to resolve those issues. As we resolve them, they get cleared out from the DNA. And the amazing thing is in my circles, we've been clearing them out through our bloodlines. We can affect the whole of humanity when we have enough people on a call so that we can clear. We're basically doing that hard work for the collective. And then when we start activating and awakening those other strands, that's where the good stuff is, right?
Right,
that's
right.
Where the juicy stuff is.
Yeah, and I have to ask you, with the way that the planet has been stunned over the last month or so, could this shock treatment that we're going through, could this activate this dormant DNA without anybody realizing it? You know what I mean? Suddenly...
This is my take on the DNA, and I've been working with this for a long time, but I understand we all have our different experiences, but it's not something that happens passively, but there is a kind of domino ripple effect, 100th monkey effect. So for the most part, your DNA can't really get activated without your conscious intention.
That's what I'm saying.
Without your free will consent.
That's where I'm going.
Yes. Participate.
Right. Without that consent form signed, right?
Yes.
Could the world just go, wow, I feel different today because this happened without them knowing, without the consent?
Well, yeah. At the same time, it could, because the whole thing is that when you get enough of the collective, and we already have reached our tipping point.
Right.
Clearing out our fear, our core chakra, base chakra issues of survival, death, fear, all that stuff, our own issues of being viruses on the state of humanity, or wanting change in our paradigm, freeing and liberating ourselves from an old system, that will have a domino effect. That has a ripple effect. And that is what's happened. And the thing is like, we're looking at this effect as from the lens of first person, like this is a horrible thing. But if we could shift into second person, which is effectively to just be more of a neutral observer, or third person, which is be sort of like a higher self witness, or even fourth person, which is sort of like a visionary, or fifth person, which is more like God's source. We can see it from different perspectives. We would have different takes on it. It's not all bad. I am deeply sorry for the harm, the pain and suffering, and people and animals and who are suffering. However, I understand. I have bigger picture, visionary picture of the overall changes that are happening, and it's important for us to understand in a sense that what we're seeing, this is an effect of what we've been doing. So it just means there's more clearing and healing for us, but it is the change we've been asking for, and it's a perfect example of how the DNA changes, how we've been shifting, clearing through our lineage. Does that make sense?
It does. And so I want to go backwards for a second so we can move forward. When you first started to have these new energies and this new world around you, how did you figure that out and understand that, and how do you then help others and explain how they can understand what is going on around them?
Yeah, well, a huge part of it is being in community, right? So that's why, like, this radio show, for example, is so important, because this is how people learn. And that is so important. Expos and conferences and retreats where you can join up in sacred community, whether it's online or in physical person. Right now, obviously, we can't really do that in the physical, but we will again. That's how people start learning. They have to get outside of the mainstream, conformity, out of the box of our old paradigm. When I do it, I'm just sharing like this. Like, there's nothing in it for me personally right now other than just to share, to be of service, and to share whatever knowledge, wisdom, learning, because that's my thing, Jimmy. I love accessing information, energy, consciousness, awareness from the non-physical realm, making sense of it, and then translating it so that humanity can awaken and ascend. That's what I love. That's what I'm here for. That's what all these activations are, because like all the DNA work, like for example, every human in our DNA has an original divine blueprint. This original divine blueprint does not include sickness, illness, suffering. It doesn't. It also includes your unique divine mission. It also includes a blueprint for understanding your journey and up-leveling and aligning with your best trajectory, your most benevolent best trajectory for your life journey. That stuff is coded in your DNA.
Right.
You have to be willing to go access it and read it, and awaken it in you. It also has, in our DNA, this is why the DNA is so coveted on planet Earth. You understand? Because they want the DNA, because they understand. That's why there's so much DNA stuff going on. Like, give us your DNA for free so we can do your ancestry. They're not interested in your ancestry. They're interested in the codes in your DNA. They can't really do anything with it, though, because they don't have the compassion operating. But the point is, in your DNA is all the scripts and all the blueprints for all the solutions to all the world's problems. You put that there for yourself. All of us. I say you, but I mean all of us. So it's there for us to access, to awaken, so that we can make our world and turn it into what we want it to be as a collective. This is our time to be doing that. And
Sarah,
there's just so much great stuff in there. Let me say, your star family races, if you want to understand more, the first two strands are mostly reptilian-based, draconian-based, gray alien-based. They're not benevolent. They're self-serving. Those are the first two strands. We're operating from that primitive brain, mostly, the left analytical brain, hierarchy, the patriarchy, the oligarchy. That's the first two strands. When you start getting to these higher strands, you're talking about your benevolent star families who love you, who you love, who left codes for you as gifts. You start accessing that. It's all good.
Sarah Ann just tweeted this as you're speaking about this. And this is check this out. She says, can Laurie give strategies for how she managed to get through all of the initiations? Sometimes I feel a lot of comfort when I learn about how others experienced the darkness, which is what you were just referring to, the loneliness, the growing pains, to move from healing to healer. Which is exactly what you were just saying.
Such an awesome question. Yeah. Let me address this. It's so good. I love this question. Thank you, Sarah. So first, I want to tell you, you got to have your go-tos. I talk about these all the time. Your go-tos. There are certain go-tos. Number one, nature. Walking barefoot on Mother Earth if you're able, depending on what temperature, where you are. Sitting in nature. We have been taught from reptilian ancestry that the sun is bad for us. In fact, the sun, Solaris, the Son of God, will activate our light body and awaken our DNA and our dormant codes. It'll help us. Breathe in the light of the sun. You don't have to look directly at it. Just take it in through your periphery. Breathe it in. Swallow the light of the sun. Get in touch with nature. That is a go-to. Another go-to is going to be body movement. That not for hard exercise, but moving the body in a way that feels good and right to you, like dance, sacred movement, anything that feels happy, fulfilling, joyful to you. That's a go-to. Yoga, Tai Chi, anything that feels good to your body. That's a go-to that's going to awaken you. Another go-to is something that you can always have that's going to make you Mentally feel good, an inspirational conversation with friends, dialogue, that it's known that when you start communicating with friends or people that you get along with, you activate serotonin and you activate dopamine, like all the happy, oxytocin, the happy hormones. So community is a go-to, that we're a safe community that you feel comfortable, safe, love, joy with. You have to have your go-tos. Another go-to is always going to be water. Water is the ultimate healer. So whether it's swimming in nature or whether it's a bath or a shower with Epsom salts, sea salts, essential oils, organic oils, that's a go-to. Those things get you through the hard times and they restore you in a very natural and enjoyable way. That's the first part of the answer I would give her. You got to know your go-tos. And you can find others too that are right for you. The second thing I want to say is your key steps. I'll just lay this out. 5 simple steps, and it's not linear. They're just the steps. Number 1, identify every single program, belief system, point of view, judgment, opinion, energy, frequency, vibration, whatever it is that anchors you in and or entangles you with the third dimensional paradigm, the old reality. Those are going to be fear-based, anxiety, depression, sadness, grief. I mean, it's not sadness so much. You understand, these aren't bad emotions. It's just things that pull you down. Fear, worry, judgment, anger, resentment, argument, debate, shame, blame. Those are not bad things. They just anchor you into 3D. You need to identify them and systematically address them in a conscious way and shift and up-level your perspective related to those things. Shift the energy. That's what amazing healers help with. That's what we do. That's what us healers do. Healer is not necessarily about changing the physical reality. It's about up-leveling us, right? So that's step 1. Step 2 is to, at the same time, in a nonlinear way, activate and download and awaken the higher dimensional frequencies, which means basically up-level your vibratory state. Shift your vibration, activate the dormant DNA, awaken sacred consciousness within you, up-level your awareness and your frequency. That's step 2. You do that in sacred healing circles, sacred community, meditation, prayer, communing with nature, communing with the planets, communing with animals, all of that, right? Step 3 is to find your new sacred neutral, your new frequency. Find a new inner vibratory state within you that becomes your own divine neutral. You start reconnecting with the sacredness that is within you, knowing who you are, what your own vibratory state is, what's good, right, and true for you, and what is in accordance with your own higher integrity and truth. That's personal. That's the personal inventory. Who are you in a new paradigm? How do you represent? What is your truth? And how does that serve the greater good? That's the next part of this too. How will you use that in service and contribution to others, to yourself, to the world? That's another aspect. And then the other step 5, I would say, is really choosing experience from a neutral state. Do you want to choose? What do you want to choose? How do you want to create your reality? What do you want to be? What is the choice that you're going to make? And that choice is always going to be from within. Not in reaction to the external world, but rather from within yourself, non-reactive, right? Old paradigm, we're reactive to the external world. The external world has power over us. New paradigm, we consciously choose every thought, every emotion, the vibratory state we're in, and we create from within based on conscious choice. So those are the steps I would say. And you use community and support of others to assist you, because that's the whole reason early waivers, first awakeners, we did it on our own. We had no one really to teach us. Mm-hmm. But we're here for second waivers who are really in full force now. Second waivers are online. And that's like Sarah, perfect example, right? You're here, you know you're waking up, you know what's going on, you know you're here to assist others who really are not awake yet. They're just being triggered right now. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Oh man, and see, this is the thing, Laurie. If somebody, let's say somebody jumps in, right? Jumps in, and they go steps 1 through 5 too quickly. I almost envision it's like Neo in the Matrix when he gets unplugged, right?
Yeah.
And it's a shock.
It is a shock. I'm telling you, I went through it. I get it.
Right.
But the thing is that's why, you see now, that's why it's so important to have community, people that you can call. And if you feel like you don't have someone in your community, first of all, ask for someone, ask for some kind of mentor or healer or coach or guide, because we're here now. We have that. There's no one that can't find that. And even if you feel like financially that's challenging for you, there are so many online communities. This is a fabulous one here. I mean, your community is so incredible, Fade to Black. And this is what it's here for. But you can find your coach, your mentor. If you think you don't have one, ask your own higher self, your connection with the divine to guide you and lead you to one, or to bring one into your reality that's a right match for you. I call this, in fact, I have this in one of my YouTube videos, oh my goodness, I'm spacing out on the word, but you have appointed people to you who are your beneficiaries, your benefactors. And a benefactor is someone who's there for you, who you can always trust. They are not going to get triggered by you. They are there for you. Everyone has benefactors, but you have to know, like you learn about that when you get into 5D and you find your benefactor. And your benefactor will always be there for you. It's still an equal win. Both people win, like both people benefit, but generally one is a little bit more serving towards the other, but the benefit goes both ways. Sometimes it requires a fair energy, financial compensation. Sometimes it's a friendship. Sometimes it's a mentorship. Sometimes it just depends how it is, but you can even ask your own higher self for your benefactor and understand that is not a vampiristic relationship where you're like feeding off of them. That is mutually beneficial.
Right. And a couple of years ago, I was hanging out with somebody that was actually a little depressed about feeling stuck in 4D, waiting for the rest of the world to transition, felt that the entire world around him was also stuck in 4D, and he was I just gave half of it away, that he was being drawn to dark elements while he was stuck in 4D, and had all of this information crushing down on him, and was trying to get through this checklist. And it was I felt empathy. I felt a little bad for him, because he wanted to do the right thing, but he was being drawn into dark areas too as well.
Yes. Well, that was part of his transformation, right? I mean, right. I understand that. That's very common for first wavers and early awakeners. What I will say is, this is ultimately how I navigate the reality. I live in a holographic dream state paradigm of my creation, and it's up to me to transform all experiences that feel perhaps not of the light. And oftentimes that means I have to merge with the darkest shadow aspect of whatever presents. I have to become one with it. And then through that merging and that unification, I become, the love that I already was prior to the merging.
Right.
So I welcome it in. I welcome it and invite it. And sometimes humanity hasn't really learned how to do that. We play games of polarity and opposition and judgment and resistance, but we have to unify with our own shadow. That's what's going on right now. So I get that experience. I understand that. That was part of his experience to transform. I do want to say, though, depression from a mystical healer point of view is always a calling to the light, saying the light is basically, your light aspect is basically saying, hey, you're going in the wrong direction and you've gotten so far off course that you've lost the light. Turn around. I'm over here. Follow the light, but you're going the wrong way. Turn around. And we don't realize that. We're not trained that way. We're trained take a pill.
Right.
Which is not the solution.
No, it's not. It's not. And the solution for me right now is I've got to take a commercial break. So let's get that in. Our guest tonight, Lori Spagna. What a conversation. This is perfect for me. I need this. We're going to have more when we come back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Lori Spagna. That last segment, whoo, man. Oh, Laurie, that was intense.
Yeah, I guess I'm a pretty intense person.
That was intense. That was strong. And I'm looking at the clock. We're already going to go into overtime. I'm giving you the warning now. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna continue. I know you're going, oh man, but we've got too much left on the table here. I want to get directly into addressing what are the next stages, and which is the connection to our galactic brothers and sisters, right? And for you, how did it, as we transition into this, how did you start to make those connections?
Well, after that that first contact experience, I started activating the DNA. What would happen was the more people would come to my circles, my healing circles, and the more I would call in the benevolence from the non-physical, angels, ascended masters, divine goddesses, the animal kingdom at large. I mean, the star family races, more and more of them would gather. So they're in the non-physical and the etheric realms and the higher dimensional realms. But the more people would come, they would also bring their own divine team to these circles, these healing circles that we do. And I just got to know them through channeling. What would happen was a lot of them would, and for years, I wouldn't let anyone or any beings channel through me. I wouldn't allow that I would just be referral, like I'll translate and I'll be the translator. I'd listen and then I'd translate. But after a while, I just started to get to know them all so well. They would identify. I'd be, state your purpose, state your name, state your purpose. Who are you? What do you want? And I just got to know them, frequency-based, energy-based, sound-based, light-based. I would just know them and I'd be like, okay, come on through. And I would translate. I wouldn't even translate. I'd get out of the way and channel it. So for me, that's how it started happening. I was just working with people. I just had a sincere desire, a really sincere desire to help humanity. I was just really, really, at first it was just animals, and the animals were always like, yeah, if you want to help us, you're going to have to enlist, we're going to enlist you to help humanity. And so as it expanded, the more I really just came from the heart, really wanting to be of service, really sincerely wanting to get my personality identity out of the way so that I could allow these higher realms, these beings of love and light and service and contribution to come through, the more I got to know them. And the more of them would come and they would identify themselves and they would communicate through me for the group, telling us what's going on and who they are. And they would always say things like this, your free will, always you get to say if you want it or not. They would translate everything they were giving us, everything that they were doing for us, whatever was meant to be known. So that's how I learned it. And it was just through the process of being of service and people coming and realizing the experiences and the animals, of course.
What was it, a Daryl Anka Bashar type of channeling and connection?
It's different from his. I love him so much, and I'm so grateful for his service and contribution. It's different because he, first of all, from what I understand, he's a full-blown step out entirely, like a trance channel in a sense that he's aware, but he's not there. He steps out. And that's not really mine. I do have to get out of the way. I guess you could say that, but I'm very conscious and very aware. I don't feel like I at all leave my body. I just feel like I merge and expand into and allow the frequencies to come forward. So I unify.
Well, let me jump in. I have to say this, though, in reference to your answer. I know Daryl, we're friends.
Yes.
And this past Conscious Life Expo, I introduced him. I don't know if you were there, but
I was there.
Okay.
Yes.
So you saw not only the introduction and everything that I had done for probably 20 or 30 minutes before we brought him out on stage, doing the, I drew the names, you remember, and brought everybody up for the questions.
I didn't see that whole part. I just came in.
Okay. Well, this lasted for quite a while. And then after that, I introduced Daryl and then asked the first couple of questions and had a conversation with Bashar. Okay, a couple hours later, 3 hours later, I go up to Daryl and I said, man, that was so cool, man. That was a great conversation with Bashar. And he goes, man, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Jimmy, but don't ask me about it because I don't remember any of it.
Right. He's a trance channel. That's a trance channel.
I was so bummed. I wanted to continue the conversation with Daryl later. And he's like, man.
I don't channel that way. I am present. I am aware. But I am also, it is not me, but it is, I consider myself to be part of the collective in a sense.
Right.
But it's not my identity. It's not me as an individuation, my personality self. I'm making way for the greater good of the collective or the higher pure frequency of aspect of consciousness, whether it's an ascended master or a goddess or whomever, to come through.
Right. And so I'm going to ask you kind of an obvious question, a lame question. Are you do you connect with the same source over and over again, or is it different?
I have my divine team that I always connect with, my source, the original source. Like for us, the original source is just infinite awareness. Right. It's just infinite awareness, and that frequency bandwidth is really beyond our capacity in our individuation to fully access, in truth, but not entirely beyond our ability to access once we come into more and more unification. So from that original source of pure awareness, it fractaled itself off into a creator, right? Creator to create. And then that creator fractals itself off to create more individuation. At those frequencies, I can unify from those separations. And when I can unify with that, I'm just translating what's meant to come through.
Sure.
So in some cases, I just feel so fully merged. Did I answer your question? Does that?
Yeah, it does, because like with Daryl is channeling Bashar. He's on a first name basis, right, with Bashar.
Yes, who is a future version of himself too, isn't that right?
That's right. And so
I feel like my future version is the one of me who knows how to do this, because the past version of Laurie never would have been able to do this. Never would have known anything about this.
Are you on a first name basis with anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I've literally had apparitions of, like, I had an apparition of Jesus stand in front of the door, wave his arm, and open a portal of light for me once. I have literally, I'm not talking about in my inner mind. Right. I have literally seen angels, like light frequencies of these incredible angelics. I have literally had an apparition of Einstein walk up to me with a silver platter and basically hand me access to universal laws. That's where my access and connection with the laws started. Because at first it was just based in quantum physics. Then, I mean, just so many of these things. And I'm not exceptional, really. We all have these gifts. I just pursued it with a passion and just a desire, an unrelenting desire. Like, I missed out on movies and boyfriends, and you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have that stuff.
Well, and this is where, for me, it gets most interesting. I talked about physics and physicists and quantum physics earlier, and their lack of spirituality and denial of anything. But, and this is the big but, I think that they all are understanding now that consciousness and what makes us individuals and to be able to think and laugh is something that they can't figure out. And physics, and Einstein, is starting to push into another direction that they are not in control of now, and that is going into the spiritual side of everything. You can't ask us to believe in 11 dimensions in string theory and the multiverse, right, and parallel worlds, and not also understand that this is what the conscious community, the awakened community, has been talking about all along. And they are about to crash into each other, aren't they?
Yes. Well, don't they have now labeled string theory as the God particle?
Well, no. The God particle is, could be. I
thought the God particle replaced string theory.
But they will deny this all day long, okay? Because this goes against everything. This goes against all universities, all study. This goes against everything that they have stood up for so long. So the answer to that is, on our side of the fence, the answer is yes. On their side of the fence, absolutely not. There's nothing. Once you die, you become stardust. There is nothing on the other side, and
Well, here's what I want to say about that is that the reason I believe that so many Lightworkers, Starseeds, early awakeners especially, were given these incredible experiences. Like, they're just so out of this world. You couldn't even make them up. Like, these things are just wild, right? The reason we were given these experiences was because once you have a direct experience, nothing and no one, no scientist, no proof in the physical world can change your experience. No one can tell you it didn't happen because it did. And I think that's what has made me, for me, such a knower. Because I'm not of the world of belief. I'm of the world of knowing. And while I know there's lots I don't know, there's infinite of unknowable and unknown, what I also know is that I'm beyond belief. And that's because of my direct experience. And so many of us have had these scientists who are still in that realm of what you're referring to, are still existing primarily from a left analytical brain. And I mean, this is what I learned from animals. This stuff is so the animals know this stuff. Humans who are only in their left analytical brain are missing the fundamental balance between the left brain and the right brain. The left brain's trying to figure out what the right brain already knows.
Right.
And we only access that right brain when we start working with meditation and clearing and activations and, up-leveling. And of course, the animals already, all animals on planet Earth, except for humans, have a very balanced left and right brain. So they have much more awareness, actually, than we do. And not only that, once we start doing more of this is the natural byproduct, is that we shift from the brain, as we know, is electric, and we shift and embody more of this light and this consciousness, our heart, and the magnetism and the brain in our heart brain starts to activate. So now we're working with more of a left-right balanced brain, more heart brain, and we also activate more and more of our gut, which is why it's so important to be eating healthy and food of the earth, because the gut brain starts to get activated. Now we're working with way more brain and way more heart, way more of our full embodiment than any third-dimensional scientist. And I don't mean to discredit them, because I love them and I appreciate them. But I'm sorry, if you're only using your left analytical brain, no matter how brilliant or smart you are, no matter how many degrees you have from no matter how many Ivy Leagues, they're missing something.
That's right. And the most spiritual person in the world is the physicist on a plane that's about to crash. I care. You know what I mean? They're in denial, and they fight it. They do, but they know that there are parallel worlds out there. They know about the multiverse. They know about the electric universe. They know about entanglement. They know these things. And time travel and the interdimensionality of everything. They understand this.
Yes, they know it from their left analytical brain.
They sure do.
But they haven't experienced it from their right brain or their heart center.
And
so that's typical. And that's not always the case, right? I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying when people are in the skeptic or disbelief frequency, that means they're operating from left analytical brain and they haven't accessed more of the right brain that already knows.
And what did we I actually want to discuss something. You went through a plasma light object in the sky where you had some type of communication or awareness with. So many, and I've experienced this myself, Laurie, and I've seen the appearance of these things with groups out of intention, right? Out of intention, where there is something happening there. And I would love to have Richard Dawkins or Brian Greene or, one of the, Sean Carroll, one of these bright minds of physics to be standing there when this happens. Right, so they can experience this. It is something that happens, and the intention and the event itself is real, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know what the thing is a lot of times, and this is one of the most challenging parts of our reality, is what we, even in the third dimensional paradigm, will refer to as confirmation bias. Because what we believe and what we perceive to be true will be true.
Right.
So if somebody like Richard Dawkins, for example, does not believe that this is possible or real, his paradigm, his confirmation bias will prevent him from being exposed to it.
In public.
For the most part.
That's in public. Privately, I think he's got...
Unless in his inner mind he is asking for it, because
right.
our external paradigm will only reveal to us that which we are, in a sense, willing to receive. Because our confirmation bias, our own set of beliefs, our belief system, and our frequency bandwidth is what we are, in a sense, limited to.
I heard Richard Dawkins say recently, check this out. He said, as atheist as he is, right, and doesn't believe in ghosts or the afterlife, and none of that, but he will not go into a haunted house. Right? It's
right.
Like, you can't have it both ways, Richard.
That is interesting, right? So within himself, he has an inner conflict on this.
That's right.
That he has not resolved. And this is what I would say, because in order to really up-level into the higher frequencies, internally we have to resolve all of our inner conflicts. And you can see, again, I'll refer to the world stage at this time. These are the conflicts, the inner conflicts of humanity being revealed to us on the world stage.
And I want to go back to diet for a second, if we can. I like the gut check reference. And just today, Laurie, I admitted it publicly that I had a Jack in the Box breakfast burrito. Okay. I did.
You do know that stuff has nanotechnology, right?
I did. I did.
I'm not harming you. I'm not faulting you for that, because I don't think that those shifts and changes in our diet happen overnight either. But what I will say is that for myself, I know I'm a practicing breatharian and sun gazer. So I take a lot of my nourishment from breath and from sun, but I still eat every day, one meal a day. And typically for me now, that's like beans or something of the earth. Like I'm pretty much almost 100% vegetarian. And also just from communicating with animals. Like I live in Florida, sometimes I eat fish, but that's because like the fish are the only animals who, when I've asked them like how do they feel about being eaten, they have always responded like, we eat each other. So that always sort of gave me pause to eat them. But here's where I was going with that. All of our beliefs and belief systems about what we need to eat and how we survive is programmed into the DNA. So, for example, meat eater is reptilian program. The belief systems that we need to eat animals to survive, that is reptilian, draconian based. And if you start clearing that stuff out of your DNA, you can transform your experience of eating, of course. When you start shifting into like Palladian, Arcturian, for the most part, you can actually become more light-based, and you'll find your body does not require or need, or you're not choosing or desiring as much animal food. That just happens naturally and over time. So I don't think it's something we have to, I'm not forcing, I'm really not in judgment of people's choices of what they choose to eat. I just think that our future, we will be evolving from that over time.
Something I found interesting, when we come back after the break, we're going full on pets. I'm just letting you know we awesome. have to do that. But with all of the and you can laugh out loud, by the way, with all of the empty store shelves that I see across the country and around the world, that apparently the question of gluten or red meat went out the window, right? All of the lactose intolerant people out there are missing at the moment. And it was just something that was a little surprising to me, that the question of diet goes out the window when you are worried about your family or if you're hungry.
Yeah. It didn't for me. But I've always had a lot of beans in my cabinet, and olive oil, and chia seeds, and hemp seeds. That's what I eat. So for me, that didn't shift, but I get it. I'll make just a really quick comment on that. That's like, we know that's like that hoarder is linked into fear too. So
sure. And I have often said that if I go up to a couple of 5-year-olds that are living in a dump, literally, right, in some third world country, and I hand them a bag of 2 Big Macs, I don't think the question of these dietary concerns come into play. And should they...
I completely agree, Jimmy, completely. But let me say this.
Should I even be concerned for their dietary needs at that moment and hand them...
Here's what I want to say about this.
Okay.
This is a great example of timelines. We have a collective timeline going on. The collective timeline is Ascension. Everything that is not true, real, and organic to the original organic Ascension timeline,
right,
which is overall humanity awakens for the greater good of all, and that which is of old paradigm, hierarchy, oligarchy, patriarchy, fear-based, etc., is dropping out. Now, on this true organic timeline, there are sub-timelines. Here's a great example. One person fears or believes that they'll run out, and another person believes, hey, who cares what we eat as long as we have something to eat? And another person says, at the moment, whenever I need the food, whatever I need will be there. And it's going to show up. It's going to be there. And that person walks into that reality and has that experience. All 3 have the experience they create. One is going to stores experiences where they can't find anything and says, I'm never going to find anything. Let me get everything I need now.
Right,
Another goes in, and I saw the empty shelves, and I said, you know what? What I need will be there when I need it. And that is my experience so far. It really is.
Well, and so should I, if I go up to those 2 5-year-olds, right, living in the dump, and I offer them a handful of granola bars, right, organic granola bars, or a couple of Big Macs, they're not going to eat the granola bars. Right?
Well, maybe they won't. I mean, to me, I think the overall lesson of what you're saying is let's be grateful that we have food.
Right.
And in the end, does it really matter? And I completely agree.
That's my point.
Let's be grateful for what we have.
That's right.
Whatever it is.
That's
right.
I
completely agree with that.
The joy of them biting into a Big Mac and the look on their face.
Yeah, and if that's what's right and good, like I completely agree. Right now, I'm just, sometimes you wake up and you're like, yeah, I'm grateful we have water.
That's
there are
right.
people, the more people are dying of thirst and starvation than are dying of this coronavirus. Even today, more people are dying of the regular flu than are dying of coronavirus. So let's be grateful.
Or starvation, or lack of vitamins and everything else. I totally agree with you. And and I'm not making light of any of this. I'm just saying that when we look at the entire planet, sometimes I wonder, the poor of India or the poor in Brazil, and I want to talk about UFOs and light beings. I don't know if there's a connection there, and I don't know if they care. Right? What they want to know is, how can I be safe and live through the night, and what am I going to eat tomorrow? And that's the other concern. And I think that globally, we should share that compassion. We really should. Let's take our break, and let's come back and talk about our pets. Our guest tonight is Lori Spagna. What a great conversation. And you can tell that I am enjoying it. We'll be right back after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
listen to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the FadeToBlack blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Little overtime with Lori Spagna. You knew it was going to happen. And Lori, I'm sure that we talked about this briefly before in person, but I've got, my family, we've got 3 dogs. We've got 3 dogs. Had 4, one transition last year. She was with us for 15 years. But we've got 3. And I communicate with all 3 of them, and I love it. But how important is that communication with our pets? What do we get from it?
Oh my God, I love that you said that. So first, let's understand our animals are our teachers and our healers. We don't typically see it that way, but that really is the case. So they are completely telepathic and completely empathic. They're the ultimate sponges. So whatever's going on energetically, they speak a language of energy. And they also, of course, telepathically, they translate. They're able to take any information that's passed in the mental realm, and it just translates for them energetically, and they know what it is. They don't have to sit there and analyze it or figure it out. They just know. So effectively, whatever's going on in their environment, in other words, in the home and with the humans they share their lives with, they're basically sponging it up. They're the ultimate empaths. They're taking it in, and they're doing their best to either heal it for the humans or somehow transmute it or teach their humans something. So when we understand that our thoughts, whatever we're thinking, our animals are picking up on that, because they're so telepathic. And whatever we're feeling energetically or emotionally or physically, they're feeling it too because they're empathic and they're picking up on it. Then we understand the importance of being able to communicate telepathically and understanding energetic communication, because they actually can teach us about what's going on that we may be unconscious of, maybe that we don't understand, or perhaps that could be some kind of sacred appointment or divine contract for us to resolve, that they're there helping us to resolve. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think that there is enough scientific research in this connection with our pets, especially our dogs and us. Cats are a whole nother issue altogether, and I think that they are aliens that they've been ruling this planet for a long time, and they have got us
interdimensional, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So they do. They really are interdimensional. They see through dimensions, and they are amazing entity clearers. They'll absorb and try to shift entities into their dimension, out of 3D and into 4D, or what other dimensional realm a non-physical being.
Oh, they've got us fully whipped into shape.
Right.
Oh, they do. Yes. They absolutely, we think, no, they are the masters. They've got it all figured out. But back to this, that there's enough research out there about the telepathic and direct connect between dogs and humans. They know when we're away. They know when we're coming home. They know when we're on our way home. You don't know what's going on inside of the house as you're driving home from work, but trust me, they know. And you can be late. If you are early, they know it. It's direct, and I think it's so wonderful. I really do.
I've always said that if you don't know what you're thinking, you can ask your animal.
100%.
Know our secrets.
Man. You know, if you're not a pet owner, if you don't have a dog, you don't have a clue what we're talking about right now. Get a puppy.
But that's the thing too. Can I say, it's not even, you don't even have to be an animal lover. You can understand that all the animals of the earth have divine appointments to help us learn, grow, and evolve. So, I mean, it's commonly known in the Lightworker community that whales and dolphins are the healers of the water, of all the waters. Their echolocation, their songs, their high-pitched frequencies, those are all high frequencies designed to heal and keep our waters clean. The elephants, with their huge brains, are the record keepers of the earth. They store up the Akashic records. They are living record keepers. If you want to know the truth about the history of Earth, communicate with a whale or an elephant. I mean, the canines, the wolves, they teach about how to do hierarchy and how to do leadership and partnership and community. Actually, the wild felines do that too. Lions and tigers, all of those, not as much tigers, but the prides and the packs. They are teaching us how to do community, how to work in these group dynamics in healthy ways that serve the greater good of all, with harm to none. Every animal, the cows, they come in so much in all of the channeled groups and channeled circles that I do. The cows are literally saying, we are, other than Mother Earth, we are the ultimate mothers. We know how to do mothering. We know how to care for our children. Learn from us. And the alienation, for example, of the calves from their mothers is a representation of humanity not understanding how to take care of the inner child. And the cows are trying to teach us this. And I could go on and on about every animal species basically has lessons to teach us. And if we learn how to communicate with them, we can learn so much from them and from their wisdom.
Preparing for the show tonight, I always do a Fader fact, right, for the Fadernauts. And tonight's Fader fact was this. I don't know if you caught it, but I'm going to repeat it now. And it was about the bear. That bears are considered to be one of the most intelligent land animals. They possess the largest and most convoluted brains relative to their size of any land mammal. Their intelligence compares with that of higher primates. And that's incredible. And most people dismiss bears as being a lumbering, funny thing, maybe mean at times, but they don't equate bears with being probably as smart as us, do they?
Yeah, well, most of us don't realize that the animals are actually, in my opinion, they're smarter than us. In that sense, they're wiser. They have more connection to the higher realms and to their own consciousness, and they have less attachment and much less fear, and they're more heart-centered, and they're more balanced in their left and right brains. Bears often teach about boundaries and standing our ground and speaking up for ourselves, when to retreat and when to speak up, and how to be brazen and bold without necessarily trampling on someone else, without necessarily overstepping someone else. It's like standing in our glory and recognizing that all can stand in our glory. Those are major lessons that come from bears. But anyone can learn this when they start communicating telepathically. All the animal species in general are very willing to dialogue with us when we are willing to receive and open up to their wisdom.
Now, let's talk about this directly. For those that are going through the ascension process, should they think about getting a pet, whether it's a dog, a cat, or a bird, or but something that is now part of them? Can they assist in the ascension process?
Well, they absolutely can assist, but I wouldn't necessarily tell someone to get an animal unless they felt like they were wanting to, like choosing that, because it is a family member. It is a living being, so it's a big responsibility in that sense. But it's a wonderful way to expand into something greater, to learn, love, and access your own divinity in a whole new way. Our animals are it's just incredible what they, and by the way, when they cross over, since you mentioned your animal companion, that's such a huge part of what we were talking about at Conscious Life. They never really leave us. When they transition, they shift into the non-physical, and their consciousness stays with us, really, in a sense, for eternity, because they're part of our collective, they're part of our soul family. So even as they, as individuated beings, traverse the non-physical, in a sense, there's no here or there in those higher states. They don't leave us, and they very often, typically, especially with people like us who are on the awakening journey in a really conscious way, they stay on as our guides and our teachers in the non-physical. So we can access them and connect with them. They never leave us, and they have more to teach us from that realm.
I've often thought that if you and I, or probably wouldn't be you, but say one of my doofus friends, right, and we're standing around talking, and I said something to the effect to my friend, it's just a dog. They don't understand what we're saying right now. That dog is saying, no, I understand everything that you are saying. And
well, let me say one thing about that, because I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So animals get matched up with humans. When we're talking about, family animal companions, they also get matched up on frequency basis. So you could have animals who are actually quite unconscious relative to other animals. And those animals that are generally more dense, or are going to be working through denser related issues or heavier issues, or more fear-based paradigm types of issues, they're going to be matched up with a frequency match of their human. And there's always like sacred contracts and agreements for those beings to work through together.
Right.
So for example, like an animal, when you refer to a friend who's dense, they're typically going to get matched up with an animal companion who also is a little less conscious and less fully activated, because it's always a vibratory match. But that dense friend, for example, could be learning about becoming more responsible, and they might end up losing their animal and learn about how to be more responsible, for example. That's a type of scenario you might find there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And how do we Okay, it's like this. If I have a headache, I'm able to say to Rita, I've got a headache, right? I'm able to say those things. Pets certainly must go through those same things day to day. How do we get that information out of them? If they're, how do we do that?
That's a really good question. So first, your animal feels what you feel. So typically, if you have a headache, your animal's going to feel that. But when you're asking, you're wanting to know, like, what's going on in my animal companion's unique body.
Right.
And there's a number of ways to do that. One is animal communication. Another is, like, if you learn how to be a medical intuitive. I'm easy medical intuitive. There's ways to scan the animal's body and learn just for yourself, right? You can just scan and evaluate as a medical intuitive might. But learning to ask them, like, how does this feel? What's going on in this part of your body? And then receiving that information. Right? This is not like something you learn in 5 minutes, but basically you can ask your animal, like, what does this part of your body feel like? Or show me how this feels, or help me feel what you're feeling, or help me smell. What are you smelling? What are you sensing? What are you experiencing in this part of your body, or in this, what are you seeing wherever you are? Like when I don't do lost animals anymore, but I've done a lot of lost animal cases quite successfully. And a lot of times I'll ask them, show me what you're seeing. What are you seeing right now? So you can just ask these animals what their experience is in any way, shape, or form, whether it's physical or energetic or even emotional. They have emotions. They sense and feel emotional frequencies. So we can ask and we can pick that up and we can translate it, or we can do it more sort of like from our own exploration of what are they feeling. That's sort of more of like what a medical intuitive would do. I'm just going to go in, scan this body, receive what I can receive. That's not telepathic, but that's another way to pick that up. Does that make sense?
It does. And I was just going to ask you a question that just popped up in Twitter. So now I'm forced into doing it, which is this. Why is it that our pets end up looking like us?
We've heard that a lot.
I mean,
isn't that just all more energetic? I mean, that's all really. Look, here's what we are. Oh, I really want to say this on your show. This will help. This will maybe blow some minds. We are pure awareness. The truth is really the truth. Okay, and you say the truth. There's no such thing as truth in a certain way, but in another way there is. We're not souls. We're not egos. We are awareness. We are the awareness of the divine, peering in on our reality as a witness to this reality. And then we perceive it through our awareness, right? And we identify through our personality self. So our animals may look like us because we are the perceiver reflecting ourselves onto our experience. Make sense?
It does. It does.
And then, I mean, of course, it's all energetic. So, I mean, all you need is just one friend to kind of say, hey, you look alike, or you're looking into the eyes of the animal, you're seeing yourself. And the animal is always going to project onto you as well what the animal's perceiving. The animal is perceiving you through the animal's eyes.
Okay.
It's perspective and perception.
That's right. And why is it that, this is me personally, but why is it that when I look into any of my dog's eyes and we have that stare down, I feel guilt. I feel guilt.
Oh my! Well,
why is that,
Jimmy? Then what's coming up for healing is guilt. So in those moments when you feel guilt, just connect with the energy of that guilt, and then in whatever way feels good and right to you, give it up to God, or give it to the Son of God, the light of the sun, to be transformed into love and light. You don't need to carry that guilt. Perhaps when you're staring into the eyes of your animal companion, the guilt is what's coming up to be resolved. And that's just an energetic vibration that's not of love. And through the love transmission with your animal, that guilt comes up for resolution.
I think, well, first off, when that happens, normally I cook a mistake, right?
That's awesome. Okay.
Right. Or,
that's a guilt. You got to give me a steak.
Right. They always win. In the end, they always win. Yes. There's that part of it, but the other side is that I think the guilt is more about I don't give them enough attention. Mm-hmm. And that and that side of me comes out. There's always, but they win is what I'm saying.
I just want to say that's not. I don't think that's from your animal. I think that's from within you still.
I'm sure it is.
You.
Yes.
And the energetic frequency of guilt from a mystical healer perspective is where you hold yourself hostage for basically saying, I'm not ready to change or make the change that I think I need to make, which is basically forgiveness of self or freedom and liberation from your own hostage, your own self, holding yourself hostage for not being somehow good enough, for judging yourself as being less than. That's the energy of guilt. Because your animal picked you.
That's
your animal loves you. Your animal already has mastered unconditional love and acceptance.
And why you're reading my mind and it's starting to frustrate me. Okay, so
sorry.
In that, why is it that one of the best things that we can learn from our pets, and especially if your pet is a dog, is that no matter how bad it gets, no matter how much of a doofus you can be, they love you.
Yes.
They will always, all they want is that little scratch on the head, right? They just want that little, that they will always give you that unconditional love, won't they? They always will.
Yeah, well, I want to bring you to something that's coded into the DNA that the animals already have activated. Humans don't. We have to activate it. And part of it is a virtue that we learn, but it's in the DNA, and that is magnanimity. It is the ability to love all, no matter what, without judgment or reservation. So our animals have that. And that's what I think that's what you're referring to.
Oh, it's no matter what, right? No matter what.
It's unconditional love, right? But magnanimity is even more than it goes beyond that. It's the ability to love even the shadow, even the dark, even that which seems or appears to be unlovable, even that which we would perhaps see or perceive as a wrongness. The animals already have that magnanimity activated within them. They hold it. So anyway, I think that's why you're referring that. But I wanted to say one other thing that the animals teach us that's so good for us to learn. And this really does apply to, I think, even what's going on in our world right now. And that is what the animals say, the number one thing that we do that is most harmful to them and that they ask us to not do or to stop doing. And that is like this posting of all the horrible things that happen to them, whether it's on social media or, like those ASPCA commercials where they show you, they sing this heartbreaking song and they show you these heartbreaking images. They say that when you do that, effectively what you're doing is you're feeding into the energy of pain and suffering on animals. And you're actually adding pain and suffering if you post all the misery and the harmful things happening to us and the pain and suffering that happens. And instead, what we would like you to do is to post and share more of and promote more of what good is happening and how much more that's helping you and how much good that's. For example, now there's this whole thing like grass-fed cows and animals that are free from steroids and free-range eggs, free-range chickens. Like that is progress. And whales in Tonga have now equal rights as citizens and sentient beings. Like that's the stuff they want us to share more of and promote, and then to say why that's so helpful and beneficial to our world and to ourselves. So that this is like basic law of attraction stuff, right? They're saying to invest in and to put all our energy and our life force into more of what we want and less of what we don't want, because when we share those painful things that they're going through, we're actually making things worse.
Strong. No, that's strong. That's strong. And one day I think it would be so exciting if we were able to, and we'll get to it, but if we were able to tap into a helmet that we could put on primates, right, and like communicate with them directly and know their thoughts, or our dogs or whales.
I've actually done that already in some kind of scientific lab.
Yeah, I think we're getting close. But what if, right, where we were able to get them, a whale or an ape, right, and that goes into a computer, gets converted into something that we can understand, and then we go back and forth and have a real conversation and learn. And you know what I mean, and have a direct communication there. That
sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that just
sounds a little artificial intelligence-y, because we can do it now.
We're almost there. Yeah.
We just have to learn how. It's already available to us, but I get it. Yeah, it's like science validating it, right?
How can everybody get in direct contact with you?
Well, they can visit my website at lorispagna.com. Can I give some free gifts?
You can do whatever you want.
All right, awesome. So if the animal lovers would like some great content classes on communicating with animals, accessing their gifts, learning to heal with animals, they can go to lorispagna.com/free gifts/animals. If the people in your community resonate as a starseed or a member of the Indigo family tribe, that's like starseeds, lightworkers, wayshowers, they can learn more about that if they want to learn more. If they go to lorispagna.com/free gifts/starseed, it's a whole class and ebook and great stuff. And if they want to experience a kind of very mellow, sort of slight DNA activation and get a class on how to do it and why it's important, they can go to lorispagna.com/free gifts/DNA. Plus, they can find me on YouTube, tons of stuff there, and Facebook. And yeah, I love to stay in touch, and I love the community.
What a great conversation tonight. I look forward to having you on again, and we'll stop on one subject and we'll just focus on that. It was just a great conversation tonight, Lori. Thank you so much.
Jimmy, thank you so much for having me. Can I give one last gift to the world?
You can do whatever you want.
Just ask practice. This came in from the law of cause and effect. It wanted to give this, bring this in before you close. The law of cause and effect always will provide an answer to a question when the question is just asked. So in other words, if we all start asking with direct relationship to this virus, and we just start asking, what's the best that can come from this? How is this all good? What goodness comes from it? How will this turn around for the good of all? What's the most benevolent situation, scenario, and outcome that can possibly happen? If we start asking that question, not answering it, and allow the law of cause and effect, the law of synchronicity, the law of all the universal laws to work together, the answers to those kinds of questions will be revealed to us. And that's what I'd like to leave us with tonight. And I just want to say thank you so much to you and also to Rita. I love you both already, and I'm grateful for this opportunity and grateful to everyone who listens. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Lori. And again, everybody, Lori's links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Simple, just click lorispagna.com and everything else is right there. Lori, have a great, safe, fun rest of your evening, and we will speak soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lori Spagna. With that, we went poll to poll. I've got to go straight to credits. Thank you, Lori. Again, it is lorispagna.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Fader night, open lines all night long. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.